Howdy howlers, it's Sakatumi, also known as Cass Voight. I write horror, and I'm a witch, and I'm a graphic designer, and sometimes I combine those three things. Today I am talking about Communing with the Dead, a la Backwoods Witchcraft by Jake Richards. I'd like to say hello to Ginny and Ella Archer and Brianna, all of which I'm very happy to see. Of course, the thing up in this corner has not updated me on how many people are actually watching. Thank you for being so patient. My computer took forever to reboot, and the internet is a little spotty. So if I jut in and out, we know why. But I'll be back. I'll always be back. It might take me a half an hour, but I'll be back. I have had my coffee for the morning, so I switched to soda, which I drink very rarely. Also, there's my Mudkip, who is my trouble buddy, and there's Kitty Butt. Her name is Aiko. She's keeping me company for witchcraft today, apparently. Normally, I don't think she's allowed on the table. However, she's being very subtle and very cute. How are you guys doing? Before I get the thing. Oh, she got up. She's like, who is this Mudkip? It has been all over. Spotty here too told me you were already live 15 minutes ago, and it took me 5 clicks, and now just now. Oh, it could have also been that I was live. No, I was not live 15 minutes ago. I had a different stream where I was streaming Morning Gongyo. Must sniff. It's my dad's cat. She's been cute. Hello, Moon Bunny. Hello, Cat Leo. So good to see you guys. I know coffee hour is a little later than usual. I completely missed my doctor's appointment this morning. I would like to reply to this email. I got caught up chanting with my dad. Lost track of time. Can we reschedule? Your appointment is today. If you need to reschedule, call this number. I'll just talk to the doctor herself. I think my system is also still rebooting. Come on, Computron. Okay, am I here? Am I all right? Hi, 394. Oh, here we, hold on. I uploaded the final document for Heart Whispers. Pre-order is live. If you want to put the pre-order link in the chat, just let me know if you cannot post because you are not a mod, I will make you a mod. Oh, I need to scroll up. BPD was out of control most of the weekend, but working on coming back to reality. That's good news. Internet has been behaving since got signal boosters installed earlier this year, but really hope I don't jinx it. Yeah. Also good to see you, 394. I have 2 and a tiny apartment, so 2 should be good, right? Sorry, kitty cat jumped on surface on which I'm doing a thing. Hello, Natalie Locke. Ready for Nano. Hells yeah. I might do some sprints later because I got some writing to do. I was supposed to do it last night, but I was so fucking beat. After 12 hours in a car, I was just, and no nap, I was just thinking, basically a half an hour in, I was like, I'm good. There's 2 people watching. Not even. All right, that's the pre-order link. Please go and pre-order Sage's new book. My uncle is an engineer and you said I shouldn't need them. You shouldn't, but every little bit helps, right? It's Kindle only at the moment. I'm hoping to get it to the other platforms soon, but print will only happen sometime in 2021. Changed my avatar to the picture of my poster. Something roses. Pages. Virgin Media are the worst internet provider. That's what I hear. Aren't you also zoned for like Vonage or some wacky thing like that? It is tiny. Okay, I was wondering if you changed your image, CB. Yeah. CB changed their image. Okay, I think this is a good time to read. It's called Bed of Roses. Cool. Is it more pepperoni fanfic? Just in book format? I am curious. There's a better picture on my Nano page. Yep, pepperoni fanfic. 1982. Oh, that's your Nano SN. Cool. So if you want to friend CB on the Nano page. You said okay, it started up on my Google Mini. What started up? Oh. Oh. Like, as opposed to saying Google. Yeah. Pepperoni. What is that? It is Pepper Potts and Tony Stark fanfic. It's the pairing. Pepperoni. I love crossovers. They're so interesting to write and to read. Because I say okay, right? All right. Communing with the dead. Best couple's name ever. I don't know. I think Savvy and Sage having Savage is pretty goddamn pairing name. I'm also doing fanfic for Nano this year. I think I'm going to be working on the book that BC and I are writing, because I'm still trying to figure out if my ringlet. I'm still trying to figure out if my anchor series is worth telling at all. Like, if I write it, if I devote 3 years of my life to writing it, or 5 years of my life to writing it, like, is it even worth it to do that? Are people still going to want to read this? I don't know. I don't know why Tony reminds me of Homer Simpson. You can say okay and hey Google, but the rest of the time you've said okay, it hasn't done it. I think it was just the longer okay. It confused me for a minute. Hashtag savage. Tony loves to eat. I have no idea. Are we ready? Are we going to do the thing? Are we going to do the thing? Granted, we are hanging out. However, most of this is talking about ancestor worship. That kind of communing with the dead. And then it goes from the east, from the west, living by signs and omens. Ooh. But let's go with communing with the dead before then. All year we pray and talk with our ancestors. Their plates are set at the dinner, and we remember them in the stories we hold in our hearts. Sometimes we see them around us, at home or in town. We've often seen my papa Trivet walking up the hallway of the house. It's mostly just a glimpse of flannel shirts he used to wear, but we know it's him by the smell of his Old Spice cologne. A fitting topic, indeed. Other times, my grandmother has said she saw her daddy in a dream or her mama moseying around the kitchen. Sometimes these are ghosts of the dead, meaning they haven't moved on. Other times, they are simply letting us know they are still with us in spirit.
Not fancy, but you might find some brushes in there you might want to try.
Yes, as a matter of fact, this one.
Yeah.
Oh, some of these are face down.
Mm.
Ooh, that's a good one too.
Yeah, there's some fine brushes in there. But like I said, it's a cheap little paint thing. So, and I bought that in my...
A little, yeah. It doesn't got to be fancy.
See, there's a fluffy one.
Yeah, I got fluffy ones. I'm good. I'm good on that. Sorry, hold on 1 second. My mom decided to help me out with some makeup brushes. Yeah, that's a good one too.
So I pick because occasionally I do painting, miniature painting. So
This one, I think.
okay.
Hi, Nightbot.
But,
Cool, thank you.
remembered. I'm just slow.
I will give it back when I am done with it.
Okay.
Okay, where was I? Sorry. The love and honor we give our ancestors is instilled in us at a young age. You never speak ill of the dead, walk over a grave, or dismiss their presence in your life. Some folks like to imagine them as guardian angels, and that's quite all right. Excuse me. Some families create shrines for their ancestors. Whether it's a place on the mantle, an old vanity, or a bookshelf, folks often keep photos and keepsakes of the dead. And I might give you a tour of that. We do that like quite a bit, actually. I've never seen, or these shrines are usually in the living room of the home and are always adorned in white cloth, doilies, or lace. I don't think it is done with that. I don't think it's done with that. That we do. I don't think we do lace. I've never seen one in black. My grandmother has a spot in her living room for Papa Trivet. His photos are hung on the wall, and some of his things are set on her vanity. His old handkerchiefs and prayer cloths, his obituary, and the printed poem from his funeral are tenderly set beside a painted porcelain cross with prayer beads on it. His wedding ring sits in a jewelry box. My own shrine is a bookshelf in my living room set with mugs of water and whiskey alongside photos of my grandparents and great-grandparents and some of their belongings. I have my Papa John's whittling knife, my Mama's Hobson's old remedy book and Bible, and Papa Trivet's Indian head penny, bolo tie, and a cast iron work hammer. Cast iron work hammer. Damn right. I also have a shard of an old Cherokee pottery to represent my Cherokee grandmother's Siomi. Other photos are lovingly decked with lace and rosemary, anointed with oil at each week, and smudged with tobacco smoke. Many workers follow certain taboos.
Yeah, I found that.
Oops, sorry about that. Many workers follow certain taboos and ancestor veneration, such as keeping photos of the living off the altar and only having photos of blood relatives there. We do not follow that, but we have a sensei. So we have pictures of sensei up, and then we have pictures of the dead up. The honorable dead. The former is true in Appalachia as well, but the latter never took root, as many of us include friends and neighbors as family. I have my step-grandfather John on my altar. He was there when I was born and loved me until he died, so I consider him family, and my children will as well, regardless of the blood connection. Another taboo some follow is never put salt on the altar, as the ancestors apparently hate it. Not here. I put salt in every food we eat, so every dish we offer the ancestors also has salt in it. They've never complained with us. I offer salt as not protection from the ancestors, but protection from negative spirit. Also, thank you. I have a section of my altar devoted to my loved ones, family and non, that have passed on. My rituals regarding the dead, I actually, yeah, okay. I actually keep a list of all the dead that I know, that I personally know. So family members, friends that were close. I when in the chanting that we did this morning, there was a point where the bell was rung over and over again, ding, 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 and that is when we pray for the dead. So we pray for the dead every morning and every night, and so when that bell is going, I basically go through the list and I honor each and every person on that list. There's got to be like 30 people on there now. And it involves my grandparents, both sides. I think that's as far as it goes. Jerry, which is the whole reason why I'm down here, my grandfather's brother, who was the patriarch of the family, he passed away on Thursday at 5 a.m, and he will be going on that list. His picture will probably go on the mantle. There's a little shrine on the bookshelf for Grandma and Grandpa Davis, Danny and Fusako. All right, where were we? In order to do this work, you will need to build a relationship with your ancestors. Ask your living relatives about them. Learn their stories, their achievements, and their setbacks. This is especially helpful if you didn't know them in life, as you will be able to relate to them through their stories. Set up an altar to them. This not only makes a place for them in your home, but in your life as well. You will be aware of them and their presence every time you pass it. Set out a white cloth or lace and place their photos on it. Set a dish aside for their food alone. I keep a candy dish on my shelf for chocolates and cinnamon candies my grandparents loved. Place a couple glasses of water, a candle, and other things they enjoyed in life. Maybe there's a tin of snuff, a pack of cigarettes, or a shot of preferred liquor, old dolls or other items that once belonged to them. Arrange these according to your own feeling, praying from the heart as you do so. Most workers dedicate a certain day of the week to honor their ancestors and refresh their water and other offerings. I choose Sunday, as it is traditionally the day for prayer and rest in the South, but choose whichever day you feel is best. On that day, you offer your ancestors prayers and love. And the back. I don't know where things stopped. What was the last thing I mentioned? Set out a white cloth. Is that where it cut off? I have a small carnival glass candy dish with mints and butterscotches on a roll shelf behind me. That's lovely, Archer. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Thoughts and love. Thoughts and love was the last thing I heard. Good morning, Eddie. Good to see you. I've been typing email to the professor. Ashamed to admit, don't know, was multitasking. I get it. Memory power is insufficient. Thoughts and love. In order for this to work, you need to build a relationship with your ancestors. Is that where we left off? Ask your living relatives about them. Learn their stories, their achievements, and their setbacks. This is especially helpful. Yep. Bong. Bong. 11 times. Bong. Take this opportunity to take a sip of something. Good morning, Melanie. I am doing well. We're talking about communing with the dead. This is not how I commune with the dead. Well, it's very close to how I commune with the dead. My dad also has a call, so if you hear those things, don't be distracted. Set up an altar to them. This not only makes a place for them in your home, but in your life as well. You will be aware of them and their presence every time you pass it. I know, right? It's a grandmother clock. Set out a white cloth or lace and place their photos on it. Set a dish aside for their food alone. I keep a candy dish on my shelf for chocolates and cinnamon candies my grandparents loved. Place a couple glasses of water, a candle, and other things they enjoyed in life. Maybe there's a tin of snuff, a pack of cigarettes, or a shot of their preferred liquor. Old dolls or other items that once belonged to them. Arrange these according to your own feeling, praying from the heart as you do so. Also, Sunday is All Saints' Day. It's the Day of the Dead. All Saints' Day. Also, in Mexican culture, something de las muertes, those things. Most workers dedicate a day of the week to honor their ancestors and refresh the water and other offerings. Yeah. My daughter and I want to paint our faces for Dias Muerta. Yeah, that'd be cool. Just beware of the candy skull thing, because that's for children who passed away. Fiesta de los Muertos. It is the party of the dead. Okay. I choose Sunday, as it is traditionally the day for prayer and rest in the South, but choose whichever day you feel is best. On that day, you offer your ancestors prayers and love. Prayers and love, there we go. But it is also the time for you to just talk to them. Remember out loud fond memories from your childhood with them. Tell them how much they are missed and loved. Mourn their loss if you're still in that stage. Tell them how your day went, what troubles you, and what is uplifting you. Don't feel that you are talking too much or bothering them, because you're not. It's like a phone call from a relative you haven't heard from in ages. Oh, All Souls is on the 2nd. That's interesting. Hi, Debbie. Good to see you guys. Don't worry if you don't always feel their presence. Sometimes they won't be around, but it's not because they don't love you. It's not a telephone service, and they won't always answer. God just didn't intend for that. My ancestors only show up and speak to me directly when it's important. Other times, I simply keep my faith and love for them wrapped close together. Mama taught me the beloved dead might not always speak to you when you want, because if they did, it would blur the line between the living and the dead. They died for a reason, greater than you or them. Also, it just isn't good for the mind. My sewing is going to be lighting a candle inside a pumpkin and sitting down for the movie Coco. Lockdown style celebration. After my dad passed away, my mom was told that she has her morning cup of coffee to pour one for him and sit it across from her in the kitchen table and talk to him. She did that for years. That's cool. Going to carve the pumpkin myself while two friends carve theirs. We'll be on a video call while we do so. Kind of a shared celebration. That's awesome. Super awesome. Another possibility, if you believe in reincarnation, as I do, is that some of your folks may already be in another life. However, the vast majority of Appalachian doctors and grannies were Christians, so they believed the dead were either already up on high or sleeping in the grave awaiting Judgment Day. The belief varies based on the church and region. So if Mama doesn't show up or make her presence known, it's probably for a good reason, whether that's incarnation in another life, sleeping in the grave, or simply staying quiet for the time being. Or maybe you should just pay closer attention. I mentioned earlier the practice of washing away the sins of the blood in regards to the ancestors' acts of slavery, war, rape, etc. Among the sins are the traumas they went through that have spiraled down in the family, such as alcoholism, suicide, divorce, abuse, and gambling addiction. We have a duty to them because it is in their stories that ours begin. Their stories may have begun in suffering, poverty, and sin, but through us, they can end with healing, stability, and salvation. We can break the bloodborne chains that kept them down and have the power to take us down as well, unless we act. This concept is part of what karma is. You inherit karma from your past lives, from your family, from all of that stuff, and you can change that karma. Right? So this is the concept that you can change your karma. And it's hard to describe karma in a lot of ways, but this is those hereditary drawbacks, those hereditary benefits, all of that stuff is stuff that you inherit. You are capable of all the things that they were capable of. You just have to basically handle the baggage that they never handled, right? And change that karma. There's a very strong belief in generational chains and curses in Appalachia, but the majority have nothing to do with witchcraft, but rather with the mind and spirit. Many of us have battled depression and suicidal thoughts. A handful of my ancestors have committed suicide. In my own life, I broke that chain early in my commitment to live. I stopped self-harming, stopped dwelling on that part of my family history, and started enjoying life. Case in point. Figure it out in your own blood. What secrets, troubles, or sins lurk within your family tree? Talk to your elders. Back in the day, some things weren't spoken of. Families would literally cut themselves off from a relative of something they wouldn't speak of for years. Sometimes that silence between folks lasted to the grave, and I'm sure it still happens all too often. Supposedly there is, so my dad's cousin supposedly has a sister, but the parents like kind of disowned her. Like they don't talk about her, they don't make contact, that none of that stuff. Something she did really pissed off the family, and they don't. Yeah, exactly. That's a lot to take in. We actually discussed the cycle of generational mental illness and group therapy. Yep. Biological mom had some heavy issues. And it is no small task, let me tell you. And some of us need meds in order to cope, right? So that is one of the reasons why I think modern medicine is a boon more than it is a bane. Folks have offered differing meditations for this kind of work, but I couldn't find good soil in them. If you think you can, then I suggest you look into it further. As this writing is of my own family practices and experiences, I can only offer this. Pay attention to the family stories, to your dreams, and to your own behavior. The bad root under it all will show itself in time. Maybe there are hints lingering in your childhood memories. Maybe it's something you'd rather not speak about. Take it to the ancestors. They already know, and they're willing to help. So oftentimes these sins that live on are the things holding them here and keeping them from peace. Hi, Turtle. Good to see you, hon. Meds and a variety of coping skills. Yep, like cognitive behavioral therapy. Absolutely. Don't always work in the moment. CBT certainly is designed to work in the moment, all the while trying not fear slipping away. Yeah. CBT, which is basically Buddhism in practice. I'm not kidding. I took a 2 weeks of outpatient CBT training, and it is basically Buddhism in practice. Teaching you mindfulness and all of that. It's nothing to scoff at. So if you have a good grasp, yeah, good for you. Good for you. I was born and not killed. That pisses off the majority of my family, and I'm dead to them. Ooh. At least I had my gram and gramps for a bit to protect me from their beliefs. Yowza. It has been super helpful. That's good. Do CBT for PTSD therapy. That's excellent. So if you get a good grasp of CBT, that means you have a good grasp of Buddhism. And if you make those things instinctual, like if you actually practice those things and like you're in the midst of a panic attack or you are in the midst of a suicidal depression, you use that CBT to keep the downward spiral from taking over. You use that CBT to kind of bring you back to earth. Those things apply to Buddhism. It's exactly what it is. And then from there, the jump to witchcraft is super easy. So CBT step 1, Buddhism step 2, witchcraft step 3. Me too, and saying the story I'm telling myself is Oh, that's an interesting way of being mindful. It's an interesting way. For those of us who are writers, I can see that being beneficial. I can also see that being a slippery slope. So be careful with that. Especially if you dissociate, you can slip right into that story suddenly becomes true, right? I remember when I was doing my shadow work at the beginning of August and you said it would be difficult. You weren't kidding. Yeah. But that which doesn't kill us, right? If you're trying to talk to others. So it's kind of like defining what exactly is happening. In what context and what you're actually going through. It's not just a story sometimes, right? I use it when I'm trying to talk to my partner or close friend about something that I am interpreting and they are doing so I can say my piece without blaming them. That is an excellent, excellent practice. I find more often than not, there is no place for blame. A thing happened. It wasn't necessarily anyone's fault. No place for blame, right? I believe in no fault. Granted, say if someone hits me, right? Someone physically strikes me or causes me harm, I'm going to hold that person accountable. That's less blame, right? But that's holding someone accountable. Okay, bye, Jenny. Enjoy your day at work. There is no place for blame. More often than not, every once in a blue moon, it's someone's fault. Very rarely, though. Someone did something that really mucked things up. I've been talking a lot about judging in a group as well. How things in life are generally neutral, not good or bad. It's the human brain that does the labeling. Absolutely. Absolutely. Nature and the world in and of itself is neither good nor bad. It is true neutral. And I consider myself a very neutral witch for exactly that reason. You need balance. There has to be balance. Bye, Jenny. Can't communicate, learn, or correct a situation if you focus on blame. Absolutely. And sometimes you got to hold yourself accountable, right? Also, good point and distinction. I'd spent years blaming myself for struggles my husband and I seemed to keep facing time and time again, but he'd forgiven me, and long before I'd forgiven myself. I know those feels well. And sometimes you can blame yourself when it's not your fault. Sometimes you take responsibility for things that are none of your concern. That cult thing I'm doing has a belief there are no victims, and I'm convinced that was one of their more toxic ideas. Absolutely. Yep. Shades of purple. Taking responsibility is huge, but beware of gaslighting yourself. Right? So once upon a time ago, my husband was an abusive alcoholic. And I was pre-meds. And I was trying, we weren't married yet. We were living together, but we weren't married yet. And I spent 18 months basically trying to figure out if he was actually being an abusive asshole or am I just being oversensitive? But I kept a journal for a year about all these things, about my interactions with my husband, good or bad, predominantly bad. And at one point, I took a day and I reread the entire book. And I was like, nope, this is abuse. But I was doing a lot of, am I just getting cold feet? Am I looking for excuses to leave? Am I sabotaging myself? I went through like 18 months of that. And it took him quitting alcohol and me getting on meds for us to be able to communicate. Okay, so here's the thing. Oversensitive. Just because you don't react the way that they react, because their scale is different from your scale, isn't a flaw. I hope that is something that you've come to learn, is that the way you react to things is not necessarily a flaw. Just because it is not the way that they would have done it doesn't make it wrong. My mom was like, yeah. It's a dark place to be, right? And that's part of the handling the baggage of those before you. And sometimes it's overwhelming. So CBT is super helpful in a lot of ways. Finally feeling like more of an equal and reclaiming my power in my relationship. And it's been 10 years, which is kind of sad. But it's such a good thing. It might have happened late, but better late than never, right? Like, it took... So Greg fell off the wagon a year ago. No, he came to me August of last year and said, hey, for the last 18 months, I've been drinking. And I had to deliberate whether or not I was going to leave, whether or not I was going to kick him out, whether or not I was going to be supportive. And I decided to be supportive because I don't believe in divorce. For one, I don't, like, if I signed the fucking piece of paper, I signed the waiver, right? But at what point do I stand up for myself, right? So there is a super big, super important part where you figure out what is water off a duck's back and when do you stand up for yourself? When do you stand up for your friends, right? And those who are deemed oversensitive are most likely trauma victims. Exactly. I think given the circumstances, they are probably reacting the way that anyone would react. My childhood was very violent and troubling, right? So when my husband raises his voice, I go into a panic mode. I go into a very defensive, very avertive, very terrible spiral where I'm expecting violence and I'm expecting, that violence to be directed towards me. That's not going to happen. I'm coming to the realization that that's just not going to happen. But that PTSD is so ingrained in me that he doesn't even have to be yelling at me. He just has to be yelling in general. And I will shut down and I will weep. So that's something I'm working through. Yep, gentle hugs. Mental health and my husband and I on shaky ground for a while. He was almost to the point of leaving because he wouldn't tell me to get treatment. I wouldn't do it. I had to tell him it doesn't work like that. Now I'm putting in the hard work. He's really changed his tune, and he's once again being the supportive man I fell in love with more than 10 years ago. That's so good. It took... My husband is sort of supportive, sort of. It's something that we got to work through a little bit. Oh, I think I'm being invited to a appointment that I missed this morning. Oh, no, okay. Of course, I was worried. Are you okay? Glad you are okay. Okay. Okay, good. I was just letting my doctor know that I'm not dead. I just missed our appointment. Because I can tell you one thing, CPT has helped me learn how to communicate and what I'm feeling with him more than I've ever been able to in forever. That is excellent. It takes a lot, doesn't it, to be able to verbalize what the fuck it is that you're experiencing? It's hard to be mindful enough to figure out what the trigger is, what your natural reaction is, and how to change that reaction. It's a long journey and it's a hard one. And it really helps that other people that you are trying to communicate with understand what it is that you're going through. It's hard to get support when you can't communicate. People just think that you're oversensitive when you have your reasons. You don't feel like talking about your reasons. Like, I'm a no excuses kind of person, right? So, like, there is no reason that I should break into tears every time my husband gets upset at anything at all. The fact is, I have the reaction. I know why I have the reaction. I've been having the reaction pretty much all my life, right? Yeah, understand that panic mode. I get my claws out so quickly and I get defensive. And it's hard not to be, gun shy, and it's hard not to be antagonistic and like I'd rather you hate me than to ignore me, or I'd rather, I don't know, like there's a lot. It can get really messy really fast, and um, it's easy for people to judge you, and then you know, like you say, the claws come out and you get defensive, and not everything is an attack, right? Brother finally got therapy again. That's good. If you're oversensitive, I'm like Sako. My husband yelled, and with my PTSD, I kicked him out of the house. It took weeks for me not to shake just looking at him. And he never hurt you, right? He simply yelled. It set off my PTSD in a bad way. I absolutely understand. And I struggle a little bit with the voice of reason and my PTSD. When something terrible happens, I'm mindful enough to have that battle. So my logical brain says one thing, my PTSD brain says another, and I have to find the middle ground. And that's where I question my mental health in general. Like, if I'm the level head in a room full of chaos, like, is that healthy? Is that right? Half the time when my anxiety spikes, there's no specific reason as to why. But I can vocalize that now, and it's helping him understand me better without having to lecture or psychoanalyze. And sometimes we just need to talk. We're not looking to have our problems solved. We're not looking for advice. Sometimes we just need to verbalize and communicate what is wrong and how things are flawed and how things are wrong. And to have our supportive person just fucking listen. All the hugs to Archer, yeah. Hi, chasing epiphanies. Trains of thought don't change tracks quickly, yeah, or easily, yeah. Oh, I am way behind. I just had a huge jump. Many people would consider my actions as extremely oversensitive. If your knee-jerk reaction is to protect yourself and to stop at nothing to do that, maybe you overreact, but I wouldn't call you sensitive. I think if you were to have a reaction like that, there's a reason for that. And that reason probably isn't related to the target. They just happen to be in the firing range, in the blast radius. And they're totally validated. Mm-hmm. My own PTSD comes out in dreams. PTSD, yeah. I have nightmares that I am back in my church and stuck, facing all the feelings I had there. It's as if all these years have been gone, never happened. I know those feelings. This stream is speaking to me deeply. I have come to actually believe I am oversensitive because that's all I've been told about it, even by therapists from middle school and so on. That's ludicrous. Everyone reacts to things differently. And to belittle your struggles by calling you oversensitive is fucked up. It is. It's fucked up. Hardest thing with CBT is recognizing when we get defensive. Absolutely. Being mindful enough to realize you are overreacting. To be mindful enough to recognize when you are blaming someone, when you are fleeing in terror. Like, big hugs, all the hugs. Hi, ADHD. This is a great time for you to hop in. We're talking about CBT and being mindful. Hearts to everybody. Absolutely. Maybe I should seek a specialist that can help me to understand what I'm feeling and how to communicate. I think that's an excellent idea. And ask them about CBT. Ask them about cognitive behavioral therapy. If there is a program that you can join or anything like that, any kind of treatment, outpatient treatment that you can, that'll help a lot. That'll help a lot. But being in a toxic, so when you are in a toxic situation and your eyeballs deep in it, right, you start to question if it's you or if it's them, right? So there's the situation where blaming comes into play, where being defensive comes into play, where panic attacks and suicidal depression and all that conflict comes into play because we can't communicate what it is we're going through, and it's hard to get support, right? For the longest time, I used to be like, voice of reason, what is that? But now I know it exists within me and I don't have to find it within others. At least not as often as I used to. That is profound. That is a huge step. Finding your happiness and your reason in yourself as opposed to finding it in others. Sometimes you need to talk to other people to figure out that you have someone that can understand and commiserate. But to go to people for answers, be careful with that. You should be able to come to, what's right and what's wrong, right? So you figure out where the point of reason and where the overreaction meet. There has to be that center place, and it's a hard place to get. That's why so many people are in therapy. All the hearts. Such an amazing community. Absolutely. I'm glad I'm not the only one who battles themselves. Definitely not. I think we all do. And writing helps, doesn't it? It helps us communicate with ourselves, if not anybody else. Another interesting thing I learned in recent weeks is that anger can actually be a good emotion because it means we have boundaries for ourselves. Whereas if we don't get angry, we lack boundaries. That is not necessarily true, but being angry is not necessarily a bad thing. There are situations where you are totally entitled to be angry. Absolutely. Just because you don't get angry doesn't mean that you lack boundaries. However, that voice of reason has to be strong enough to say, hey, you are crossing a boundary. Right? You might not be angry, but sometimes being calm is scarier. Good point, Melanie. I never thought of it that way, and setting boundaries is something I didn't realize was so important until a couple of months ago. So helpful. So since September, I did a partial hospitalization program where I went to a facility 5 days a week for 3 weeks from 10 to 2. I had a week off, and I'm in my final week of intensive outpatient therapy. I'm so proud of you. I've learned so much in the past 2 months. It's like I went back to my former life as a psych major before I switched to creative writing. That is profound. Yeah, outpatient, yeah. Oh, you misspelled outpatient. I got it. If you're looking on Psychology Today for therapists, many list their approaches like trauma therapy and CBT. Absolutely. I actually found my specialist on Psychology Today. You figure out where your flaws are. Like if you're a PTSD sufferer, right? You can look for someone who specializes in PTSD management. I'm going back to school for child psychology next semester, so maybe I can be more help later, but learning communication techniques for neurodiverse brains is so important. I absolutely agree. That is such an amazing perspective, Turtle. Yeah. Boundaries are so hard to figure out. I'm understanding it recently, but it has been a struggle. It's a long journey. Where's the line, right? And that's something I still struggle with even now. There's a way of looking at it. Yeah. I am so glad you're growing and learning so much, Melanie. I am so proud of you. My PTSD therapist was shocked that we were married for 18 years before he ever yelled. We've been married for 19 now, and he's home, and we learned yelling is a hard trigger that I have to learn to work through. It is, but he should also work on his yelling. It's a two-way street. Both people got to try. Writing myself in third person helps me get things out and validate myself. Absolutely. I'm most likely not going to go back to work until the beginning of 2021 because my psychiatrist doesn't want me rushing back into it. She's actually considering giving me a recommendation to go on disability. It's that severe. It's great that you can get a recommendation from your doctor to chill the fuck out. Oh, I never thought of third person POV. Yeah. Because if you're talking about someone else, right, you can look at things objectively. And when you look at things objectively, that's the voice of reason, right? When you're writing in third person, you're more inclined to separate yourself from the situation and be able to look at it from the outside. Stumbled into it and helped in ways writing hadn't. Yeah. Sounds more like he needs to work on his emotions to support you as opposed to the other way around. I think it's a two-way street. Oh, I was supposed to stop at 11:30. Just 15 minutes more, yeah? Work is a big trigger for me, and she noticed my pattern with changing jobs because when things get too difficult to deal with, I sink into deep depressions and end up missing lots of shifts. Yeah. I need to go AFK. I'll be back. I have returned. Oh, good to see the conversation still going. I can believe it. I love the avatar. I don't know why, but it makes me smile every time. I've been AFK a lot recently. What does it stand for? Oh, AFK means away from keyboard. Yeah. Thank you for everyone for being so kind and open with your sharing your experiences. Agreed. I know it's not easy thing to do, but I can tell how genuine you all are. It's amazing to find others who understand. Yep, away from keyboard. Acronym from the 90s. He's very supportive. He had yelled for the first time after 18 years and being together. My family used to always yell at my grandparents for keeping me. It killed my gramps. So when the Hubs yelled for the first time after 18 years of being together, it was an instant reaction. Luckily, he recognized it for what it was and left it as I asked and called his PTSD therapist who set me up with one. It's lovely. Yeah. Good LR. That sounds terrible. Marriage isn't even easy. Yeah. That's the truth. I don't know AFK either. Well, my aim was on BRB, girl. On AIM, yeah. BRB AFK was often one sentence. Mm-hmm. I remember when I first learned what at the moment was, besides the place where you get cash. That is wonderful. He saw what was really wrong. 90s AIM. Hey, Spence, we're just wrapping up. We had a I strongly recommend, we didn't get all the way through the chapter, but we did talk about karma and how to change it and how to change our mental health and ways that we can help ourselves. Hi, Nicole. Please rewatch. I would be confused when Gen Z kids on Facebook would say, how about you? Yeah. Hey, Nicole. Hey, Spence. Hey, Nicole. All right. I think it is time to say goodbye for the morning. Where did we leave off? Halfway into communing with the dead. This was an important conversation. Absolutely. This was an important conversation. Still confused about acronyms used in daily life. Urban Dictionary is my friend. Yay, acronyms. All right. Thank you all for joining me. I will probably be doing sprints at some point because I have art to do, I have writing to do. Yeah, this space is lovely. So glad I made it. I can't always get up in time for these streams, but when I do, man, are they helpful. Well, you know, it's not uncommon for witchcraft to become shadow work, right? Have a good one. Everyone, be good to yourselves. Take it easy today. You beautiful souls. Take it easy today. I'll catch you guys on the flip side.